Are you still trying to launch your next big idea by creating a perfect 50-step plan? You're doing it wrong because the smartest innovators don't plan to perfection, they test with action. Today, we're beta testing your life. Welcome to Sunday Spark. If you're looking for platitudes and participation trophies, well, you've taken a wrong turn. This is Sunday Spark, the weekly intervention for ambitious professionals who are ready to play a smarter game. It's all about actionable strategy, not just motivation. So let's ignite some progress. Last week, we launched something very unique. We talked about really the litmus test and understanding what you really want to be known for, your legacy versus your resume, right? And I want to really work on creating that new chapter. And the response was incredible, and it raised the single most important question. Okay, I'm inspired. Now what the hell do I actually do, right? The answer comes from the world of tech startups, really. Today's episode is titled The Minimum Viable Action. So it's how to beta test your next chapter starting this week. So if you're stuck in that analysis paralysis, polishing a business plan that no one will read, or generally terrified of making the wrong first move, this is your intervention. We are going to stop treating your new chapter like a fragile masterpiece and start treating it like a scrappy startup. So let's figure out what to do, where to do it, and ready and set to stop planning and start building. So let's get into it. You know, I had a client who wanted to launch a massive online course platform for creative professionals. Yes, a lot of people have. The vision was huge, dozens of courses, a complex community portal, a tiered subscription model. Sounds like a little bit like what we used to do. And he spent 6 months creating a 40-page business plan. He hadn't spoken to a single customer or even made a single dollar. He was paralyzed by the scale of his own dream. So I told him to burn the business plan, metaphorically, of course. And I asked him, what is the absolute smallest, fastest, cheapest way you can test the core assumption of your business? His core assumption was, will creative professionals pay me to teach them this specific skill? So his minimum viable action, right, MVA, wasn't to build a platform. It was to write a simple one-page Google Doc outlining a 2-hour live Zoom or online workshop on his core topic. He emailed it to 20 people in his network and said, hey, I'm running this for $50 a spot in 2 weeks. Are you in? Within 48 hours, 10 people had paid. So he made his first $500. More importantly, he'd gotten priceless data, right? People would pay for this. So he ran the workshop. He got amazing feedback and testimonials. And then he used that real world validation to really build out the next slightly bigger version of the idea. The takeaway here is to stop trying to build the entire cathedral from day one. Your only job is to test your core hypothesis with the smallest possible experiment. Sell the workshop before you build the university. Make sense? This isn't just for entrepreneurs, because this is for anyone trying to make a career pivot inside a company as well. So let's say you're an accountant who secretly wants to move into data analytics. The old way is to really feel stuck, right? Maybe take a bunch of online courses in a vacuum and then try to make a massive risky leap by applying for a new job that you're not really quite qualified for yet. But let's take the MVA approach, okay? What's your core assumption? Your core assumption is probably, I would be good at and enjoy data analytics, right? How do you test that? Your minimum viable action isn't to change your job title. It's to go to your boss and say, I'm interested in developing my data skills. Is there one small cross-functional project with the analytics team that I could volunteer just 10% of my time on for the next month? This is brilliant low-risk move, right? You get real-world experience, you build relationships in that department that you really want to join, and you get data on whether you actually like the work. You also can demonstrate initiative, making you the most obvious choice when a real position does open up. So the takeaway here is don't wait for the perfect opportunity to fall from the sky, right? Create your own small scale internship. Beta test your career pivot before you go all in. And personally, your beta test playbook, it's there too, all right? Let's get a little tactical here, okay? How can we apply it to our own new chapter, right? Not just business. Well, define that hypothesis, right? What is the core belief you need to test about your new idea? And be specific. So maybe it's, I believe people will pay for my sourdough bread, since that was all the rage over COVID. Or I believe I would enjoy a career in landscape design, right? So design your minimal viable action and brainstorm. What is the absolute cheapest, fastest, simplest way to get a yes or no answer and get some real feedback on that hypothesis, right? Can you do it in the next 7 days? Can you do it for under $100? I want you to really embrace that data. Data is better than drama, right? Principle. This is key because the goal of your MBA is not to succeed or to fail. Those are emotionally loaded words, right? The only goal is to gather the data. If nobody buys your sourdough, and that's not the failure, that's data telling you to tweak the recipe or the marketing. This removes the fear and makes the action feel like a fun experiment, right? You know, Reid Hoffman, who is the founder of LinkedIn, famously said, if you are not embarrassed by the first version of your product, you've launched too late, which is absolutely the truth, right? Apply that to your new chapter. Your first attempt should be messy. That's a sign that you're moving fast enough, right? That's a sign that you're moving fast enough. It's messy. You're not holding back. I want you to think about that, right? The inspiration from last week was really the spark for me, but inspiration without action is just really a pleasant daydream, right? The minimum viable action is the kindling that turns that spark into a real fire. So here is your challenge. Directly from the mission of my new podcast that will be coming out soon, I want you to define and execute one minimum viable action in the next 7 days. Stop planning, stop perfecting, and go get some data. What's your MBA going to be? I don't know, but if you know it, maybe you should declare it. Declare it on the chat. Put it in our community. Add it to the comments because I want you to really start moving. And next week, we're going to talk about what happens after you take that first step. It's the joy of being a beginner again, right? Embracing imperfection and finding freedom in that learning curve. Remember that. I'm Faye Chappell. This was Sunday Spark. So stop dreaming about the business. Go do the business. And there you have it. If this episode sparked an idea, your job now is to protect it from the committee of dream killers, including the one in your own head. I'm Faye Chappell. Go out there and make something happen. This episode was produced by the City Media Group.